And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Record of Sword Forged Worlds, a unofficial Sword World podcast. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have three of my good brothers here in the temple. We have the man who is but a letter, but is not a Gaia memory, good brother A.
Hello.
We have the man losing arguments with himself, good brother Hydra.
I am Alfarius. I am the Hydra.
I get that reference.
And the master of the Wanderer's Library, good brother Sig.
Hello, everybody. I'm back after a while, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day.
So, last week we did Fluff. Now we're back to doing Crunch. And I am once again back to jumping between books. Though fortunately, the episode last week may have had has had a bit of a ripple effect, which the rest of you know because I shared it the other day, but for those of you watching, you'll see what's coming soon. Now, since a couple weeks ago we tackled the races, for this one we're tackling the classes. And I did talk about this when we covered the player-facing parts of the mechanics in Sword World, but classes in Sword World are not what a lot of people might think, because it is not a case of you picking a class and that's what you have for your adventuring career, unless you multi-class or class switch. No, instead, classes are a skill package that you are spending XP on. The analogy that I sometimes use is to look at the way the skill tree works in, say, the original Mass Effect, and think of every one of those lines as a different class. It's not a one-to-one, but it's the closest I can think of, because there aren't many games that do this sort of classes as skills concept. I mean, maybe Warrior, Rogue, and Mage, but that's kind of a stretch because the Worm engine has more in common with Fable. Now, classes can be split into two categories and three types. The two categories is Major and Minor. Now, the difference between those is major classes have significant design impact, but they are going to cost more. Minor class ones are they can certainly be impactful, but they're not as impactful, and they don't cost as much. And we do have this kind of thing was handled on an individual class basis in 1.0. In 2.0, the XP threshold for classes has been streamlined into this major and minor track setup that honestly I'm perfectly fine with. And just as a reference point, I'm going to post up for you guys in the side chat. This is the XP chart for major and minor classes. The number in parentheses is the cumulative XP. So, getting one level in a major class is 1,000 XP. In a minor class, it's 500. But you can kind of see what we're going with here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the three types are Warrior type, Wizard type, and Other type. Now, Warrior type is going to be all of your martial focused classes. And each class will have impacts on certain stats as well as certain abilities. At a few XP thresholds, some classes will get feats automatically, as opposed to only getting a combat feat every other adventurer level. But with that said, I think we'll start with the warrior classes. And the first one of these is the fighter. You pick fighter, you are proficient with melee attacks and melee weapons and thrown weapons. You also get a +1 per level to evasion, accuracy, and damage with the fighter class. And even if you are proficient, that doesn't mean you can use any weapon. You still need to meet the minimum strength requirement. If you don't have a high enough strength score, you can't use the weapon. Full stop.
Makes sense.
Well, I actually do like the clear distinction of if you don't meet the requirements, don't bother using it at all.
Yeah. For weapons above B rank, you also need a weapon proficiency combat feat. Weapons will be divided into 4 ranks: B, A, S, and SS. Obviously, a lot of the most powerful weapons are SS rank, but there are plenty of B, A, and S weapons that you shouldn't really sleep on. A similar thing applies to armor. And yes, if you pick fighter, you are going to be proficient with both armor and shields. There's not really a distinction between light or heavy armor. The distinction is the armor metallic? And that will play a factor later. But
So remember, everyone, make sure to do your 100 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats.
And drink plenty of juice.
Mm-hmm. Now there are certain combat feats that you get automatically at certain levels. At level 7, fighters get toughness, which grants them 15 extra HP. At level 13, at a cap of 15, fighters get Battlemaster. Battlemaster essentially lets you declare 2 active combat feats in 1 round. Normally you can only do 1. You cannot do the same one more than once.
You're gonna get your multi-attack in the somehow.
Mm-hmm. Well, Battlemaster's not necessarily multi-attack. And it really depends on what feats you have available. But then there is Grappler. Grappler is basically this game's equivalent to a monk. It is a major type class, much like fighter. You do get a bonus to evasion, accuracy, and damage. However, there are certain drawbacks that you have. For one, the only weapons and armor that you can equip are wrestling weapons, or weapons that have the asterisk grapplers may equip or grapplers only. But you get access to the throw attack, which lets you inflict knockdown, and you also get the chain attack feat for free. Chain attack lets you do an additional melee attack when you've done one with a stance 1H hand weapon, which your unarmed attacks are going to count as that. You get 2 of them, punch and kick. This basically lets you do a punch and kick in the same action, or lets you do a throw. It should be noted that chain attack and dual wielding are not compatible with each other. So no using it to do four different attacks at once.
You know, it would be rather interesting to see a Lamia grappler, considering that, you know, no feet.
Mm-hmm. Oh. But obviously, if you're picking grappler, you're going to be doing the hand-to-hand brawling. But then there is Fencer, one of the few minor classes within the warrior type. The big thing with Fencers is that they get -1 to critical threshold.
That's nice.
Which, that may not sound like much, but this is -1 on a 2d12 roll.
That is indeed.
And they do
That's
get
quite the buff.
Yeah, they do get the same bonus with evasion, accuracy, and damage that fighters do, but on the other hand, your strength ability score is treated by half for the purposes of calculating strength requirements. Now, depending on the weapon you use, a high strength requirement may not even be a necessity, and they are proficient in melee and thrown attacks, but you're probably going to be using weapons that better take advantage of that increased crit threshold. And I just realized I forgot to talk about combat feats for Grappler. So, Grappler does get Battle Master at level 13, much like with Fighter. But in addition to that, at level 7 they get Counter. Which is basically an attack versus an attack, and if you win the compared thing, then you're treated as it's an automatic hit, and then you're rolling straight on the power table to determine damage. And in fact, actually, I take that back. You're treated as if you rolled a 12 when determining total damage. However, it is not a crit, and you can only do this once per round. So Counter is a high-risk thing. Because if you fail it, you're getting hit. If you succeed it, you're hitting, and you're hitting well. So I'm pretty sure somebody's inevitably going to make the joke about comparing it to Dudley from Street Fighter.
What, with the cross counter?
Yep. But then we have Marksman, one of the other minor warrior classes. Marksman, if you want to do ranged attacks at all, you need to take levels in Marksman. That is the big claim to fame with Marksman. You are proficient in shooting attacks and thrown attacks. However, you're not proficient in guns. At least not yet. Also, Marksmen don't get bonuses to evasion. They only get bonuses to accuracy and damage. And if you do make a ranged attack, your movement is still going to be limited. And of course, you do have the disadvantage of you need to find ammo. But then there's Battle Dancer. Battle Dancer was not in the original books, it was in the Battle Mastery add-on. And it is something of a more varied middle ground between fighter and grappler. They are proficient with melee and thrown attacks. They do get a bonus to evasion, accuracy, and damage. They also get a bonus active combat feat at level 1 from a limited list. And they can learn feats that are exclusive to other warrior-type classes. They can also use grappler weapons and armor, but because of the fact that they're dipping into grappler as well, normal weapons and armor they can't use, and they can't use shields. That should give you a bit of an idea on what Battle Dancer is.
It's a combat bully.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as
Blade. Oh god, I'm picturing a Taru from Star Wars.
Now, in terms of the combat feat that you could pick, it's things like decoy attack, repeated strike, aimed attack, power strike, taunting strike, lethal strike, mana strike, and things like desperate strike, herald strike, or wild strike if you're a vagrant. We will get into what vagrants are eventually. This particular combat feat cannot be shared with other classes. There are abilities that let you share your feats. But Battle Dancer is meant to be a more varied middle ground kind of character. And a common mistake that people end up making when it comes to Sword World is taking multiple warrior classes. The warrior classes do not mix with each other all that well. So it's generally advisable to pick the one that fits your playstyle and stick with that instead of leveling multiple ones. Like, there is literally no point, aside from dead investment, to level up fighter and fencer. If anything, it's going to be an XP sink.
You know, I'm actually kind of surprised there isn't a berserker class for the warrior types.
Berserk, in that sense, is treated more as, if I remember correctly, is treated more like a feat, or like a racial feature, in some cases. Because somebody wanted most berserkers or barbarians or the like in this system are just going to be fighters.
All right.
I do remember whenever we covered races, some of the races did have like a berserker / rage state that they could go into.
Mm-hmm. But that was race specific. I think you're thinking of say the Spriggans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not every race is going to have that. And yeah, there's some that have in alt mode. But said alt mode is not entirely just do more damage. With say the nightmares, the big reason to have nightmare mode is the fact that it allows you to cast magic without needing a catalyst equipped. Well, cast true speech magic. But then when it comes to the let me double check to make sure there wasn't any that I'm missing. Nope, I got all the warrior types that I had on my list. Now, when it comes to wizard-type classes, this is where things are going to be expanding a bit. The first of these is the Sorcerer. Sorcerer, I suppose, is a successor to the Rune Mage in 1.0. They learn True Speech magic. It is probably the most blaster caster of spells, but it does have some support capacity. Whenever you gain a level in Sorcerer, you gain each of that level's equivalent of spells. So if you want to dip into Sorcerer, take the first level, you get all of the level 1 Sorcerer spells. That may sound like a lot, but it really isn't, because most spells only have most levels only have 3 or 4 effects per level. So it really doesn't feel like that if you end up just wanting to dip into one of the wizard classes.
Unlike a certain litigious RPG where you do have to pick and choose.
Yeah. Now, every time you take with a lot of the wizard type classes, every time you take a level in it, your MP goes up. You also gain a point of magic power, which could kind of be considered the attack stat for when you're using spells offensively. Now, in order to use sorcery, you still need a catalyst. This will usually be like a ring or a wand or even a weapon with the catalyst attached to it. In fact, that latter one is fairly popular because it means you can still be involved in melee while technically still having a weapon, catalyst equipped. On the other hand, you do not want to be wearing a metallic armor because metal armor will put a -4 penalty on your spell casting. Non-metal armor that has a minimum strength requirement of at least 10 has a -2 penalty. And obviously you need to be able to speak and move your arms when it comes to casting magic. But in some of the later books, you would see integration of familiar rules for Sorcerer. And I feel like that was done because the classes that were coming out were doing a particular spell list and something else. And speaking of that, then we have the Conjurer. And I should note both Sorcerer and Conjurer are major type classes. And let me take a look at something just so I'm covering my ass. So Sorcerer does get one. Most of the wizard type classes are going to get one automatic feat, and that is Rune Master. Rune Master just lets you use 2 active combat feats that have the use type wizard type class. And much like with its equivalent for the warrior, you can't use the same feat more than once. You know, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Conjurers are able to use Spiritualism magic, which is a kind of support magic. And they also can control dolls for reconnaissance, make dolls for reconnaissance, or control golems. Even if you do that, you still need a catalyst, and you still need to be able to move your arms. And of course, you still have the penalty against metal armor. But then there's the Fairy Tamer. Fairy Tamer is one of the more interesting classes because it's the closest thing to a black mage within the system. Now, in 2.0, the Fairy Tamer kind of leaned into this FF-like summon, specifically like early FF-style summon. where they're able to capture fairies within gemstones and make contracts with them. Their magic is them giving up some of their mana to a fairy for that fairy to perform a service with them. And there is a fairy for each of the major elements. Light, dark, fire, water, wind, earth, and... well, water is water/ice, I should note. And instead of just gaining a set of spells every level, Fairy Tamer spells are built on ranks. The idea is, at the start of a day, you pick 4 elements that you have. The ones that you pick, you gain the ranked spells up to your level. There are certain patterns you can do where you can trade off 1 less to have higher magic power when using that one specific type of spell. But it is a trade-off. And okay, for a second I thought my music wasn't playing. But Fairy Tamer, because of that, makes for a very interesting archetype. And because of the fact that you carry fairies in gems, some people have made Pokemon jokes about them. And in fact, there is an item called a gem case that you can get that holds 6 gems at once.
I mean, are they wrong to make that joke?
Not entirely, and not all fairy magic is tied to an element. There are neutral spells, but these are usually things like Summon Fairy. Which, if Summon Fairy is active, you can't use fairy magic. But then there's Druid. Now, in certain more litigious role-playing games, the Druid is a do-almost-everything class. You know, they can fight in heavy armor. They can use melee weapons. They can heal. And they're decent when it comes to skills as well. This has led to that unfortunate reputation. In Sword World, Druids are focused solely on nature magic around animal spirits and being a support caster. And within that, there are some spells that operate on a few unique rules. These spells are referred to as symbolic lore spells. And what makes them unique, even though there's only a handful of them in the game, is the fact that you can make a certain focus. And if your ally has that focus, no matter where they are, they can benefit from the spell when you cast it. So because of that, Druids aren't nearly the do-everything caster that they've been in the past. And just as a example, let me see if I can. A lot of their, like I said, a lot of their spells are support, but they do have a few offensive spells. Just nowhere near as, say, the Sorcerer. But
so it's more of like a skill monkey like caster compared to the sorcerer. is more the I cast fireball.
Yeah, although it's not like any one spell list is just offense or defense. There is still a mix. It's just how much
As
of
it
it
should
is
be.
dedicated to it. A example of a symbolic lore spell. Let me go into their spell list to see if I can find it. Nope, that's not the one. It's not the one I was looking for. Let's see. So one of the spells is called Big Defender / Hydra. This is a spell that can be cast as a minor action or cast during combat preparation. And when it is cast, usually it has a range of 30 meters, but if you're targeting someone who has a symbolic lore spell, you can cast that just about anywhere. But it just means that the spell just means the next 2 melee or ranged attacks that try and target you don't do damage.
And I do just to remember stories from Grandpappy Hydra when I was just a little hatchling about how one of his family members said there used to be summoned once.
Mm-hmm. Now, much like a lot of the other spellcasters, the druid does require a medium, and this one is very specific. It requires an item called the Staff of the Sacred Tree. That being said, you can, if you want to spend a few gamel, you can turn a staff weapon into a Staff of the Sacred Tree. Also, if you're wearing metal armor, you have a -4 penalty to your spellcasting checks. Fairy Tamer has it as well, but they don't also have a penalty to non-metallic armor. Just metal armor. And then there's... Oh god.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
I've tried to avoid it for the longest time, but let's get to it.
Can't run away forever.
The Demonologist.
Oh gods, the ones who
Demons, you say? Hold on. I'm listening.
So, originally the Demonologist was called the Warlock. It was retitled that due to some recent books that had come out. Demonologist first made its appearance in the Monstrous Lore expansion. And it gets not only its own rules for summoning and trying to control demons, as well as banishing them, but also has its own spell list, summoning arts. In order to use it, you need an Imp Seal. You do take a -4 penalty with metal armor, as well as a -2 penalty with non-metal armor if it's got a minimum strength of 10 or more. And the demons that you summon, you can't directly control. They are controlled on a soft AI system with their demon action chart.
Oh, so like spirits in Shadowrun.
And every demon has a unique chart. There is a certain procedure when it comes to summoning demons. This can be described as 3 steps: preparation, task, and cleanup. You have to form an Abyss Gate using the imp, then summon the demon that you want to summon, then try and force the demon to do a task for you, then try to banish the demon, and some of them aren't willing to go, and then close the Abyss Gate that you made. If you screw some of the... Now, with these, you do have to spend MP to summon the demon. You might also need to give it sacrifices. And in some cases, if you screw this up, you can accidentally create a shallow abyss.
Small price to pay to have a demon at your side.
Honestly, yeah. What was the price for inviting them in? Bend it over and spraying their ass cheeks?
I mean, like sometimes it is worth. Sometimes it is worth to go and have a little side adventure.
Yep. But with each demon, there's an action chart where you're rolling 1d6 to determine what they do. And because of that, it's one where this is one of those things where messing around with demons can have certain consequences. But it's not like every single spell is about summoning. There are several summoning art spells that don't even involve summoning demons. On the other hand, a lot of them will. But because of the fact that it has two systems like that, and one of them is significantly more complicated, Demonologist is the one class that when I was running the Aboard the Magic Railroad campaign, I didn't let anyone take.
Boo.
I had a bunch of rookies, and given the tone of the campaign, having someone pick Demonologist didn't fit.
That's fair.
Like, there is a bit of a higher skill floor with certain classes over others. I consider Demonologist to be the one with the highest skill floor.
Again, fair.
But then we have Abyss Gazer, which came from the Abyss Breaker supplement. This is a class that uses abyssal magic. It gathers shallow abysses, can utilize materials to enhance their spells. They are stronger with their spells in a shallow abyss. It does require its own focus, this being in this case an abyssal knife. But you can use certain shards to enhance your spells. Not necessarily metamagic, that already exists in the game. But there are certain enhancements that you can spend as a material component to boost spells. Let me see if I can find an example. And sometimes it's Abyss Shard, sometimes it's Demon Blood. For example, the first level spell Spirit Knife deals psychic damage. And if you can spend one Demon's Blood to have it be Psychic and Curse type and increase the amount of damage. Or you can spend an Abyss Shard to change the target from singular to one area, 30 radius 3 meters. So essentially you can use material components to do its own custom metamagic. You know, those who gaze into the abyss gazes back.
Yep.
Makes sense.
And like a lot of the wizards, it does get Rune Master at level 11. Speaking of which, to cover my ass, I do want to cover one thing in detail when it comes to Fairy Tamer. There are certain spell patterns you can take where you get a boost in raw power for one element, but it also means there's one less element you can pick. On the other hand, if you want to really go off the beaten path, if you choose the all type pattern, you can take chaos spells. Spells that are using all of the elements at once.
What's the catch?
The catch is the fact that a lot of the normal fairy magic is more difficult for you. That and the chaos spells only go up to rank 5, whereas everything else goes up to rank 15. But they can be pretty powerful. They're also very blaster caster. Which is part of the reason why some people don't want to take it. But then, after the Demonologist and the Abyss Gazer, let's see, did I miss? In Age of Grimoire, there was the Arcanist caster. Which Arcanist is meant to be this nuke in casting form, because their big thing is casting very powerful spells that eat up a lot of MP. They are very powerful. They're also very costly.
So basically, what's her name from Konosuba?
Megumin?
Yes.
I would say that if it weren't for the fact that Arcanists were not one-trick ponies that only know one spell. However...
So if Megumin was on crack...
Mm-hmm. But the point is, Arcanist is a very MP intensive caster, and their particular magic is called Grimoire magic because, well, you need a grimoire to use it. Which it's always nice to keep things simple.
Yes.
Sometimes but more commonly it's known as arcane magic. And yes, if you do metal armor, you get a -4 penalty. If you do non-metallic armor, you get a -2 penalty. And unlike some of the other casters we've seen, you do not get your spellcasting automatically at levels. Instead, every time you level, you get one spell from the list. But on the other hand, they can be pretty powerful. of course, they're also kind of expensive. Like there's a few first level spells that are like 5 to 8. But then you get the and thank you Nian Miller for the follow. Hope you enjoy the shit show. Oh. But then you get some of the higher tier spells where they're asking for like 20 or 25 MP out of you. So even though they are powerful casters, it is best to carry a few Mako stones along with you. You know, just in case you end up burning yourself out, which you probably will.
Even if you did take that MP constant reduction feats.
Mm-hmm. But I guess you could liken it to those characters in some RPGs who the gimmick is they can use ancient powerful spells that most casters can't. You know, instead of saying I cast Fireball, they say I cast Meteor.
Or Ultima, but
But then, let me see. Let me see if I missed any wizard types. Oh right, I did. Priest. I missed 2. Priest and Artificer. So, if you want to, there is no cleric. There is priest. Priest is somewhat akin to white mage because the main focus is on white magic, which, in the case of priest, they have divine magic. Now, you do need a holy symbol in order to use it. You do gain divine magic the way you do with a lot of the other casters. Depending on the rank of the god you follow, if you're in certain areas that are outside their sphere of influence, your divine magic may be a bit more costly. Also, if you pick Tablet or Runefolk for your class, you can't take Priest. Full stop. Tablets because they believe that they are the descendants of gods, and Runefolk because of their artificial nature. But in addition to that, divine spells are divided into 2 major types: common and divinity-centric spells. And you know how in 1.0 we saw that priests, depending on their god, gain spells at different levels? In 2.0 that particular thing was unified. You will always gain a spell tied to the god that you serve at 2nd, 4th, 7th, 10th, and 13th level. It does not matter what god you serve, whether it's one from the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd sword. This rule still applies.
Neat.
On the other hand, if you follow the 2nd sword, there are some spells that will be reflavored. But only like 1 or 2 of them. But Artificer, the casting type that Riona fell in with, these are the ones that can use Magitech. Their focus is one that they don't have to have equipped, but they need to have on them in Magitech spheres or Magispheres. They're essentially like a mag or like a ghost that creates the items that they are using for their spells.
There are also the classic the shoot.
That is correct. A lot of spells involve enchanting bullets, because gunpowder isn't really used in Sword World. Instead, artificers apply magic effects to bullets to do that particular kind of spell. So the equivalent of a gun mage is a pretty common build. Artificer and marksman is a combination you are going to see a lot. And like I said, they're the only ones who can use guns. Most guns are single shot. Rare high-end ones are repeaters. But the majority of the ones you find are not going to be that. I will also note that there is one spell list that isn't tied to any spellcasting class, but is still important to note. And that is Deep Magic. Deep Magic is a spell list that is exclusive to people who take levels in both Sorcerer and Conjurer. You have a level in Deep Magic equal to the highest level that you share between both Sorcerer and Conjurer. So if you have a level 5 in Sorcerer and a level 3 in Conjurer, you can access the level 3 or lower Deep Magic spells. And Deep Magic can be both utilitarian and powerful, depending on what's needed. And there is the disadvantage that trying to develop Deep Magic is very expensive. But I remember using, say, Lock On quite a bit. Now, some spells will have 2 arrows next to them. That indicates that you can cast the spell as a minor action. All of the bullet series spells that the Artificer has have that rule. Sorry. And I do want to touch on golems for a bit. You don't just spend MP and make a golem. You need a catalyst. And this applies for both golems and undead. There are different types of catalysts for different level ranges of golem, and each one of them has a enchanted variant. The difference between the normal and the enchanted ones aren't consumed. You can keep reusing them as long as you pay up.
Okay.
And that applies to both golems and undead. Each golem will note the required level that you need to be in Conjurer to cast it, how much MP it costs to cast it, and the type of materials that you might need. Like, for example, an oak golem, you need to have a Conjurer level of 3 to cast it. It costs 4 MP, and you summon it using a enchanted oak branch. In addition to that, there are certain items you can use to enhance golems, usually different types of gemstones, that can grant golems additional unique abilities. Or use it as a way to do some soul sucking. but but when it comes to the cost of them, it really depends on level range. And of course, if there's a dash with one of the level ranges, you just can't use it at that level. But one of the top golems is a platinum dragon.
That must cost a hell of a lot to make.
In order to, you need to be level 15. It costs 40 MP, and you need, at the very minimum, enchanted platinum. Enchanted platinum costs 15,000 gamels.
That's a pretty penny.
So that's either something that the party happens upon, or someone's been like saving their money for them to buy it.
Yeah.
Or they probably sold their livers collectively.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, a strongly enchanted platinum, which would led you to a reusable platinum dragon, costs 50,000 gamel.
Yeah, at that point, you need to be the kind of person who was born into wealth rather than made it.
Or you killed whoever had it before you.
All right, fair.
And
I prefer the latter. It's cheaper.
I will note, each golem has a certain cap as far as how many enhancing items can be affixed to them. But I also said that undead can be done as well. And they work similarly, and there aren't as many undead compared to golems. But it is an option you can take. I know some might say, wouldn't that make it a necromancer? Their whole thing is spiritualism. So them messing around with undead is perfectly in keeping with that.
It's just making a flesh golem.
Which... Actually, let me double check to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass. Because I'm pretty sure there's a flesh golem in the... So there is not a flesh golem, but there are things that are close, like the flabby golem.
Ew.
Actually, no. The flabby golem is a golem made of flesh.
Still gross.
I mean, like, what kind of flesh are we talking about here?
Ew.
The kind that would get the Hell Priest's attention. But before
mystery meat.
Before I get into the other type classes, which there are the most of, I need to step aside for one quick minute. So we are going to hit the BRB briefly.
Okie dokie.
So we'll see you in a few, folks.
りたや
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with the other type classes, this covers everything else. I should note, I didn't go into the whole major and minor thing with the wizard types because all of them are major type classes. With the other type, the majority of these are going to be minor type classes, and this is where automatic feats are going to be significantly more prevalent. With the wizard types, the only combat feat that's going to be automatic is going to be the words. I know words. Is going to be Rune Master, which works similarly to the whole use to combat feats thing, but it's just for wizard type feats. Also, I realized that there was one other one that I forgot, and in my defense, this is a recent entry. And that is Bibliomancer.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that one. It's out on the list.
Bibliomancer is a newer entry. And it is described as an attempt to try and revive arcane magic. Basically a 2.5 incarnation of the Arcanist for doing Arcanist in more modern setups. So they use arcane magic. They have the same -4 to when using metal armor and -2 when using high strength non-metallic armor. And also, this is probably obvious, but none of the wizard type classes can use shields. And you also need to have a grimoire equipped. You need to have a grimoire equipped, and you need to have be able to trace the characters in the grimoire with one finger. So it's going to be a bit demanding. And in addition to that, the Bibliomancer is the closest thing to the Vancian model that Sword World has, And even that is not entirely the case. What they do have a number of spell slots that's based on their level, as well as an emergency spell slot, and they get more of them every 3 levels. But the thing is it's not a case of you can only cast that spell and then you can't, and then you're SOL until you take a long rest. No, instead their particular version of spell slots is more akin to what I was doing with Legend Edition.
Okay.
For some reason, I am thinking of the Crusader from DNF Duel, but I could be mistaken.
I don't see it. Because of the way DNF Duel is going to work, and the way Crusader worked in DFO or DNF, depending on which version you're using. That was still just you casting from MP using the skill tree setup that game has.
Mhm.
So I don't. The approach that we have with this is instead of just gaining a bunch of spells when you level up, you do have to pick which spells you get from different ranks, and it is dependent on your level to see what the highest rank of spell you can get. However, you don't automatically get spells. Instead, you have to obtain it, but you have to obtain spells by locating them during adventures or purchasing it from the Guild of Arcane Manuscripts. So, like I said, this is the closest thing to the traditional wizard, and even then, it doesn't annoy me nearly to the same level as casters do in the world's most litigious role-playing game. But now that I've gotten that taken care of, when it comes to the other type classes, these are the grab bag of things that don't fit within warrior or wizard type. And the first of these is Scout. So scouts are your recon guys. They also are the only ones that get a bonus to initiative checks. Now, one might think, does that mean that every party needs to every character needs to have a level in Scout or 2? Not really, because initiative is not tracked on an individual basis like that. It's side-based initiative. You're rolling initiative, checking it against the initiative number of whatever monster has the highest to see who goes first. Rather, to see which side goes first.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to the restrictions, they can't use shields, and if they try to do their stuff in metal armor, they take a -4 penalty. They can also take a -4 penalty if they're trying their stuff anyways, but they don't have Scout's tools on hand. And they do get... Instead of a long skill list, there are skill packages that a bunch of skills can apply into. The skill packages that Scout develops is technique, movement, and observation. Technique is things like pickpocket, disguise, conceal, disable device, and set trap. Movement is initiative, tumble, hide, acrobatics, climb, and follow. And observation is track, notice, listen, danger sense, search, meteorology, spot trap, cartography, and appraise. And in addition to that, you're getting extra combat feats. At 5th level, you get Treasure Hunt, which lets you do a +1 roll on loot determination. I will get to loot determination in a few weeks when we cover the player-facing mechanics. At 7th level, you get Fast Action, where if you win on the initiative check, you get 1 additional action in the first round. 1 additional major action, let me clarify. And then there's Shadow Sneak. Your movement can't be blocked. You can also leave skirmishes at will without doing a prepare to withdraw action. You just leave. Meaning you can get out without provoking AOs, or the equivalent, I should say. Treasure Master, which you get at level 12, is an improved version of Treasure Hunt. Your loot determination bonus is +2 instead of 1. And Skill Master lets you do a reroll on skill checks. For the Scout, I should say. If you have rerolls from other things, this just increases the amount of rerolls you get by 1. But this doesn't mean that you get a bonus reroll if you're playing human, for example, because Sword Salvation Change Fate is not a reroll; it's a flip. And that's the Scout. But then there is the Ranger. The Scout is something of an incarnation of the Thief. The Ranger is an incarnation of a Ranger that doesn't suck. But
I mean, the bar is so low, though.
The Ranger in Sword World is a minor class and is more focused on the outdoorsy exploration aspect. They do gain a bonus to the technique, movement, and observation packages. They also are proficient with first aid, pathology, and herbology checks, and with potions as well as herbs. Now, some of the checks that they can do can only be performed in a natural environment. And one of the main reasons that people will pick Ranger is being able to use potions to greater effect. It's just anybody can use a potion. They can just recover more HP using it, or using it on others. But then there's the Sage. This is a direct carryover from 1.0. The Sage is the knowledge monkey. Every time you level up in Sage, you get to either speak or learn a new language. They also gain bonus in the monster knowledge skill, which is the skill you need in order to expose weaknesses of monsters. I feel like some of that was added in because apparently Sage had a low pick rate in Japan in the 1.0 era. And if you end up succeeding at the monster knowledge check to the point where you end up learning their weakness, that doesn't mean only you take advantage of it. The whole party does.
That is nice.
Hmm. But then there's the Enhancer, the first of the very strictly combat-focused other types. Enhancers spend mana to enhance their bodies through techniques. Every time you take a level in Enhancer, you get one technique. When using techniques, you can't do a full movement action. You do have to be able to breathe in order to use techniques. And while it uses MP, it's not magic. On the other hand, developing it doesn't give you extra MP, so you're gonna be reliant on Mako Stones to an extent. Not to a full extent, because no matter what, every technique costs 3 MP. But it is something you need to be aware of. Because of the fact that it's more about enhancing the body, Enhancer grappler combos are fairly common. And then there's the Bard. So the Bard is all about its performance abilities using spell songs. We kind of saw this with the Bard in 1.0, but spell songs have been significantly expanded to be more than just a glorified cantrip. Spell songs are divided into spell songs themselves and finales. The idea is you support your allies using spell songs and generate a type of resource called rhythm. You do have to roll for generating this. There's a minimum amount you will generate. If you roll high, you generate an additional amount of this rhythm. You spend that rhythm on finales. And when it comes to spell songs, everybody within range is a target. So you do have to apply a bit of strategy to when you're going to use spell songs and finales. Finales, for the most part, are always offensive actions. So you can kind of see the builder-spender loop here, I believe.
Yeah.
But rhythm is not necessarily a separate kind of MP. There are 3 types of rhythm: uplifting, calming, and enchanting. And finales will be specific on what types of rhythm they consume. But, for example, one of the early spell songs you can get is Rhythm. Not Rhythm, Resistance. When whoever's affected by it gets +1 to Fortitude and Willpower. And most spells are going to be fairly all-encompassing. You also make a check against the Flourish value, which in the case of Resistance is 13, to generate an uplifting rhythm. Otherwise, it just generates 1 calming rhythm. They can also have their pet do spell songs they know passively, so they're not spending actions on it. But only certain types of pets can use certain spell songs. Each one will list what pets can use it. So you could either do double the spell song action, or have the pet do a spell song while you get into the fray. So, and of course, there are specific feats for the Bard, but there are not any automatic feats. But then there's Rider. For those who really like the idea of the Cavalier class in AD&D, this one's for you. If you have a level in Rider, you may be referred to in universe as a jockey. As you level up, you can ride and control animals, mythical beasts, and Magitech mounts. So yes, this is where you can get riding a monobike.
If you're gonna ride a monobike, you have to do the Akira slide. It's absolutely essential.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the only way for you to stop.
Mm-hmm. But every level you learn a stunt, which is something you can use with your mount. And the thing with mounts is you don't need to have a level in Rider to use a mount. You're just not getting as much out of it compared to a Rider. Riders also get access to the movement and knowledge skill package, but on a limited sense. For movement, it's only tumble and riding, and for knowledge, they cannot determine monster weaknesses. They can only identify monsters. But when it comes to the mounts, the ones that you have access to, and you have to purchase them or rent them. Though if you end up having the rental mount killed, that can put a black mark on you, and too many of those, and the guild will not let you rent any mounts. But mounts can range from something as simple as a horse to a fucking sky whale.
That escalated quickly.
Mm-hmm. Or on mythical beasts, you could ride a Bayard, or a wyvern at the highest level. The Bayard is also known as a spirit horse. But it is kind of funny that the first mythical beast you could ride at level 5 is a Pegasus.
Awesome.
Now, as far as Magitech, it could be things like a monobike, a superior monobike, a sky bike, which is exactly what you think it is, a floating board. Yes, it's a hoverboard. Or the Air Blade, for those of you who played that game on the PS2. There are also things like glide wings that you could get at certain levels. A glide wing is a glider. There are also things like Magitech cars. Or let's go one step further, or Sky Car. Or let's go even more ridiculous with the capstone of Magitech mounts. I'm just going to give you the name, and you can figure out the rest. Variable Mobility Exoskeleton.
So you're basically Iron Man.
I'd say this has more in common with the Cyclones from Mospeada.
Oh, that's actually even better.
Because this is power armor that turns into a bike.
All right, someone's gonna have to educate me on this, but that sort of thing did happen in a Kamen Rider, right?
No. We had bikes that transformed into a robot form, like Autovagine and Fies, but not this. And there are additional setups you can put on it. Like for Magitech mounts, for some of them, you could put a sidecar on them. The big downside when it comes to the exoskeleton is going to be the price. 180,000 gamel.
Nice. Expensive,
Yeah.
but nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna have to sell a lot of kidneys to be able to afford one.
Oh yeah.
As long as it's not anyone's specific kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think kidneys from slaying demons would count?
I'll take it.
If you're a suitable surgeon, maybe.
No promises.
But then we have the alchemist. And the alchemist is not what you might think it is. It is not like a chemist in Final Fantasy. If anything, the alchemist reminds me of the whole alchemy card thing in the some of the Atelier games and definitely the Monokemia games. The idea is that they transform materials, whether it be from dead monsters or from the environment, into cards called Prima Materia. Those Prima Materias are the fuel for their spells called invocations. Prima Materia can be divided into 5 different colors. And of course, in order to do this, they need an alchemy kit. But the cards themselves are in 4 power rankings: B, A, S, and double S.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Joe.
Hello?
We have just been going through the classes for Sword World.
Mm-hmm.
Currently on Alchemist, which reminds me a bit of the Atelier series. One of the significant disadvantages when it comes to evocations is their limited range. Unless you have an item called a card shooter, which lets you use evocations at range.
Nice.
Now, on one hand, all evocations are minor actions, but as a major action, you can try and do multiple evocations at once.
That could be for an interesting combo system.
Mm-hmm. If you do it this way, you have to do an evocation check, and if it fails, you don't get the effect, and you lose all the material cards you spent.
Okay, but now I'm imagining those like automatic card dealers for Uno. To fire them at range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the grade of the card determines the strength of the effect when using a evocation. For example, one of the starting ones that you can get at first level is Bark Mail. The idea is it covers you in a tree bark like mana to increase your defense. You need to spend a green card to use it. And at a B rank, raises defense by 1. A by 2. S by 4. Double S by 8. You can buy Prima Materia cards, but they are going to get expensive. They are going to get expensive very quickly. The most reliable way to get Prima Materia is through monster harvesting, since there will be a certain amount you can get through the loot determination table. But then there is Geomancer, which I know some of you are thinking the terrain caster in Final Fantasy. That's not exactly what this is doing. You're not too far off, though. So, Geomancers have their own resource in the form of 3 types of key. Basically corresponding to body, mind, and spirit. In order to use their particular special abilities, known as aspects, you need to have a geograph on hand and have it deployed. While it's deployed, you can't move all that much. But the geograph that you have will determine the range of your particular aspects, as well as how many key you get per round of heaven, earth, and spirit. The other downside is the targets of your aspect are random.
Oh.
You're saying something, Joe?
No, I was just like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Like, is there a way to hedge your bets, get the correct effect that you want, or?
It's Rafa and Malak from Final Fantasy Tactics all over again.
There are combat feats you can take with that require Geomancer that can minimize the effect.
Didn't Guided by Carter also make a video about mitigating those effects?
Yes.
Sorry.
Spreading Triad can make it so that only 2 targets at range will get hit. One of 2 targets will get hit. And Dividing Triad has it that once the targets have been determined, the user can cancel any undesired effects. So through those 2 feats, you have some control over Geomancer, but that control has its limits. So you are still doing some degree of Gamba. But then there's
Yay,
Tactician.
Yay, gambling.
Yep. Then there's Tactician. This is the lead from the front kind of character. The battlefield general. You get the idea. I should note each of the ones we've covered so far are minor type classes. But Tactician is all about inspiring allies. They do get bonuses to initiative checks. But they have 2 particular type of features. Stratagems and maneuvers. And in a roundabout way, this works similarly to the Bard, but with its own particular quirks. For example, with Defiant Stand, that can grant a +1 bonus for skill on the next round for skill checks. But the thing, there are also different tiers of several of the ones, and it is a case where you have to use the first tier, then the second tier entry. So in order to use Defiant Stand 2, you have to first use Defiant Stand 1. Fortunately, all of the stratagems are minor actions. and each one will generate a resource known as Edge. Now, on its own, Edge isn't doing anything, but it is used as a cost for maneuvers. The idea is stratagems buff everyone else but the tactician. Maneuvers buff the tactician directly by spending Edge. So you can kind of see the loop there.
Well, of course, you can't the benefit of your own stratagems. That's the price of being a good leader.
And they do not have any automatic feats. But then there's the Dark Hunter, which also came from Abyssbreaker. This is another class that manipulates shallow abysses. They can use monster knowledge checks, but only against demons. And in addition, instead of normal spells, they have essence weavings. These spells can be pretty useful, especially if you're going up against undead demons or fighting people in shallow abysses. But you spend HP to cast them.
Well, there it is, everyone. You're the Demon Hunter class.
Oh. And I believe there were a few. I believe there were a few others. Let me. Yeah. There were a few that I missed. Oh. So, one of the ones from Age of Grimoire was Aristocrat, which is a minor class and gives you access to the Dominion spell that was that covered Raxia during the Ancient Magic Civilization period. The idea is that you gain a set of followers / slaves known as legions through Dominion. And you also learn special abilities called Noblesse.
Noblesse oblige.
Mm-hmm. And these Noblesse can be in courtly types, declared types, granting types, permanent types, or initiating types. Because you're effectively creating your legions. And these legions can be of animals, constructs, barbarous, humanoids, or undead. And the type of legion that you can make, which first off you have to spend a fee to get them, and second, each legion will have a might score, which is the minimum strength of them, and you need to be of a certain level in order to use it. But the big cost when it comes to legions is maintenance, meaning you got to shell out Gamel. But you can kind of see what the Aristocrat is going for. The whole this is your legion of servants.
Throw money at the problem until it goes away. That's what I get out of it.
Yep.
Well, if you got that kind of money, maybe you might be able to afford that battle suit.
Throw money at the problem or throw minions at the problem. One of the two. Or both.
Well, when it comes to Magitech was not a thing yet in the era where aristocrats are. That wouldn't be a thing until after their era ended. Now,
That's rather amusing, actually.
mhm. Now there's also the Heritor class. If you're taking Heritor, you're probably a Barbarous. There's no other reason. The big reason to take Heritor is to boost the stat line of your different parts for various Barbarous, as well as to get infusions. Infusions are special abilities tied to certain Barbarous, namely things like Diablos, Drakes, Basilisks, Scissor Scorpions, and there are some universal ones, but that's the specific end. And an example of this would be different forms of the Evil Eye for Basilisks. So instead of just being able to do an Eye of Stone, you could have it that you can use it more efficiently, or at the high end, you could have like an Eye of Destruction, or even an eye that can cast magic. There is a small part of me that wishes that there was some rule that you had to have 7 veils over your head if you're using a Basilisk with the Evil Eye. But that's a bit of a mythology gag. Specifically referring to Balor. And the Scissor Scorpion can get special poisons through Heritor infusions. But like I said, the main reason you take Heritor is if you're either a Diablos, a Drake, a Basilisk, or Scissor Scorpion. But there's also the Mystic. The Mystic is the Fortune Teller class.
I knew I came at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Their big thing is being able to learn divinations as they level up.
I mean, we need to have our soothsayers.
Mm-hmm. So they are going to be a support role. But the thing about divinations is that they are not necessarily stable.
That's okay. Neither are fortune tellers.
Mm-hmm.
Let me guess, you need to hook him up with drugs or something?
But there are 3 types of divinations. Diurnal, Nocturne, and Nocturnal. I thought there were 3 for some reason. There's 2.
The other one is never sleep at all.
Yep. Diurnal divinations are ones where you're directly involved. Nocturnal are ones where you're indirectly involved. And the effect that you get is based on a die roll. For example, let's go with one. Benefic Guidance, which lasts for about a day. You divine your lucky color and lucky items for the day. Some effects will cost you HP, like if you roll a 7 or less, you don't get any effect and you lose 6 HP. Some will cost MP. At a result of 10 to 13, you were able to divine the key to good luck. At 14 to 17, when you have a lucky item matching the color, or your outfit matches the color, you get +1 to the success value of a check. This can only be used once, and costs 10 HP and MP. So that's really
Then I'll wear a fucking rainbow. Like, there's what keeps me from wearing every single color?
It may be a bit conspicuous.
Fortune tellers aren't supposed to be subtle.
I mean, everybody should have a Technicolor Dreamcoat eventually.
We all need to dream.
I suppose.
No, but I'm honestly curious if there's any kind of thing that prevents someone from just carrying a bunch of random trinkets that might be lucky, like that one dude from The Mummy who carried every single religious symbol.
Well,
A good old Benny.
good old Benny, until he gets hit with the chair.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do love that somebody tried to make a mock-up action figure of that chair. The most accurate chair in film history. Plus, you like Benny, but you like Benny, but you also hate him. Also, as a Thief fan, whenever I hear Benny, I end up getting confused about which one I'm dealing with. Is it the guy who's on the wrong side of the river after stealing all the camels? Or is it the completely unqualified guard in the Thief games?
The answer is yes.
The answer is always yes.
And hello there, Riona. Welcome to the party.
Riona!
But like I said, the Mystic is a class that hasn't made the jump over to 2.5 yet. I have a feeling it will. It's just a matter of time. And if not, it isn't going to be that hard to convert it. Conversion between 2.0 and 2.5 is stupid easy. And I know there's already a conversion guide that's out there. So, let's see what else. But the big thing with the effects of divination is that it's very much dependent on what the divination role is. So, for a more combat example, the Benefic Star of Shield. I should note that you do need a specific tool, namely in this case a rod, though some of them use cards or other tools. So as well as the fact that each one uses a certain ability modifier for the check. In the case of the Benefic Star of Shields, it uses dexterity. And if you fail, if you roll double ones, the rod is destroyed, and you see a bunch of illusions for 10 seconds. This doesn't affect your action checks. You might end up spending HP or MP and get no effect if you roll a 6 or less, or roll a 7 or 8. If you roll a 9 to 13, you get +1, and it only costs you 2 MP. If you get a 14 to 16, you get a +2, and it costs you 10 HP and MP. If you get a 17, you can choose an additional target, and all targets get +2 to evasion, and it only costs you 3 MP. And if you get a double 6, so an automatic success, the next evasion check the target does in the next round is an automatic success, and only costs you 3 MP. So, you remember where I was joking about Gamba with one of the earlier classes? The Mystic is very much that. Because you may end up spending a little bit, you may end up spending a lot. You never know. Which is also why, at higher levels, your divinations are significantly more stable.
So you start powerful, but then you stabilize as you gain level.
Mm-hmm. Now the other form of divination, nocturnal. First off, you're not getting any nocturnal divinations for the first few levels. A lot of them are about having the GM giving you hints through visions.
For some
And-
reason, I'm imagining someone that just hooking up with some certain white powder to get their visions.
The spice must flow.
No, we gave him cocaine.
Is that what the kids call it now?
Yes.
You know, that makes a lot of sense.
Whoever controls the spice controls the universe. But the thing with nocturnal ones is that the range of effects can go from 16 or less to 25 or more. So, and I'd say that's the reason why. And I will admit that was for some of the higher level ones. The idea with these is that it's a way to do a bit more of a macro effect, as opposed to the short-term effects, which are the diurnal divinations. But there's also the runesmith. So everybody likes the idea of pounding runes into items to give them magical effects. That's been a thing in fantasy for generations. Runesmith lets you turn mundane equipment into arcane vessels. They have some DNA with Enhancer, but Runesmiths actually can get more rewards from their MP use.
More bang for their buck.
Yep. So the idea with them is they can apply runes and take weapons and armor and turn them into arcane vessels. The rank of the weapon determines how many maximum runes that they can have, as well as giving a vessel MP to the item. This is a rechargeable MP that is used whenever the arcane vessel's runes are used.
Oh, it's a magic battery.
Yep, and this can be applied to weapons, armor, shields, grimoires if you have Arcanist as well, and accessories. With weapons and armor, it depends on the rank. A B rank weapon can have 2 runes and has 5 MP. A double S rank weapon has 5 runes and 20 MP. And when it comes, and the thing is, each rune is a activating it costs a minor action that costs 5 MP. You obviously have to have the arcane vessel in your hand or be touching it, and it can only affect you. It can only affect the runesmith themselves when it's activated. On the other hand, there are certain weapons that require 3 hands. Those are only accessible by the Mana Flare race, which is a race that was exclusive to Age of Grimoire. They have an extra magic hand, which lets them use 3-handed weapons. Or imagine, say, using a 2-handed weapon in one hand. Because their third hand is doing the extra lifting.
An extra magic hand?
Yes.
Okay.
There are specific weapons, armor, grimoires, and the like that came along with that were built specifically for being arcane vessels. Arcane vessels are always treated as magic items, and arcane and weapon type ones are always treated as arcane weapons, or treated as magic weapons. Sorry. And the idea is the higher the rank, the more runes you can put on it. The more runes you can put on it, the more stuff you can potentially do. And when it comes to runes, each one, as I mentioned, costs 5 MP. Some of them require other runes as a prerequisite. Usually because they're an enhanced version of it. So if you want the rune of super speed, you have to put it on the rune of speed. In addition, some runes only work on certain items. For example, the rune of might can only be used on a weapon. And truth be told, this sort of runesmith, maybe it's just me, but it feels like what the Artificer in the world's most litigious role-playing game was trying to be, in terms of a master of messing with magic items.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
I do think it's interesting that, and I can see why the MP thing was mentioned, because remember, using runes doesn't use your MP. It uses the arcane vessel's MP. That, and you don't have to spend MP to activate, not to activate, but to affix runes. Making something into an arcane vessel, yeah, that's going to cost you. But no matter what, at 6 a.m. the next morning, when you get the MP for that arcane vessel back.
Nice.
There is no, oh, you can only carve that rune once, like in, say, Warhammer. You can carve the same rune on multiple vessels. You, however, can't do I believe you can't do more nope, never. You can duplicate multiples, but there are catches, and some of these I'm skimming over a good chunk of this because I want to get this into more detail when we start covering individual books, which one of them will be Age of Grimoire. And the other thing is, you do still need to be proficient in certain weapons and armor to use them as arcane vessels. Or rather, let me correct myself. There is a combat feat called Arcane Vessel Proficiency, which you would need. But Runesmith is certainly higher on the skill floor. I don't think it's as high as Demonologist, but it is up there. And in some of the 2.0 books, there were some other odd things that were done, like a kind of spell customization rule for artificers, where they could add certain components to do custom effects. That didn't carry over into 2.5. I think likely because it was felt that it would be stepping on the toes of metamagic feats. You've also had the notion of the sorcerer class getting access to familiars as an exclusive, which could help them in minor ways with some spells. And there were also certain effects that you only got if you went Transcendent. Transcendent is a rule that was in Fortuna Code, which we will get to eventually, that added 2 more levels to the level cap as Transcendent levels. The idea is, if you are at that level, you are basically a god in all but name. Especially since there's a heavy implication that you get that level by being associated with the 4th Sword of Genesis, Fortuna. The sword that seems to keep appearing and disappearing. I know you were a bit late on this show, but for the rest of you, what do you think of the class system that we have, as well as the variety of options?
Definitely a lot to work with. I still want to summon demons in the world and eventually destroy it, as is my goal.
Truly based. I do like how with the other type classes, like they're all minor, and they add, like, they feel like they're more technically minded, some of the minor classes of the 2 other major class type.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, there's no minor wizard class, is there? I thought there was.
No, there aren't. There was someone who homebrewed a minor one called Lore Master, but Lore Master doesn't
Mildra?
Yeah?
Nothing. Just wondering if you muted on us or something.
No, nothing like that. But Lore Master was a homebrew that was more essentially had spell slots that you'd fill in through unique skills. Basically, Lore Master was a legally distinct blue mage.
Oh, interesting.
But that, and there were a couple other homebrew classes that I was able to find either through the Discord or through Reddit. Like I know somebody had made an engineer. At the same time, I also know when it came to equipment, there have been a few attempts to do gun blades so that you could have an artificer who dabbles in melee combat. Like, you don't have to go with guns if you pick artificer, and the Guided by Cardia channel has talked about a few cases where that's happened. But the thing is it is going to be a limited affair, which is why you're going to see a lot of magic gunners. I should note when it comes to and I will revisit this when it comes to how character creation works. Combat feats you only get every odd-numbered adventure level, and much like in 1.0, your adventure level is equal to whatever class has the highest level. This also means saying that somebody's adventure level 5 doesn't tell you a whole lot about what they can do.
All it tells me is that someone invested at one class, but for all we know, it could be a whole multitude of classes with the same number.
Mm-hmm. It could be one class at 5. It could be multiple classes at 5. It could be just a major. It could be a major and a minor. It could be multiple minor. It's not something that you can easily tell. But with that in mind, go ahead.
Also, one thing I'd like to point out about the Ranger, yeah, like, I definitely agree with you that it doesn't suck. To me, this is a case of addition by subtraction. You get rid of the spellcasting and you just focus purely on the skills, and now you got something that actually works.
Well, I'd also say that we don't have the Todzilla effect. Because in the last few editions of the world's most litigious role-playing game, the druid does way too much at once.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Druid just for that alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And Reno said Kobold with every class. Technically, yes, and that's as high as they can go. And though I feel like when you say that, you'd be throwing in the work skills as well, which I'm not covering the work skills for a while. I do not want to cover them until we do because that requires a whole episode just dedicated to the Raxia Life book. There's a lot of work skills. And work skills don't add to adventurer level, which is why kobolds can take advantage of them so easily.
And heaven forbid, we already got enough material to last us until August.
Oh, we've got enough material to last us through 2027.
Yeah.
But for the, I'm trying to think, did we skip any? For the rest of you, what did you think of the Not just the class variety, but the spell list variety, I suppose, as well, because there's quite a bit of that.
You know what? I actually like this much better than whatever the what it was smoking when they created this spell list for 3.5. No, I'm not going to let them live that down.
As someone who does like to play casters and swordsmen in general, I do like that there is a variety of spells.
There's
Especially
a variety of
depending on what builds you can go.
Yeah. There's a variety of spells, but it's not what I have lovingly called the big dumb list.
I do enjoy for priests, like specifically, like they have the common divine spells, and then they have like the deity divine spells. Like that is something that's missing on a lot of art, like in a lot of RPGs nowadays.
And yeah, sometimes you'll have like bonus spells based on a certain domain or something like that. But those domains can be taken up by a multitude of gods, so it doesn't feel as personal. And even with that, most of like a priest of Soon and a priest of Cord in the world's most litigious role-playing game, 95% of the time, they're using the exact same list of spells.
I think Sunni and Cord. Let me.
Cord, of course, being the legally distinct Thor.
Ah, okay, so.
And that's always something that bugged me. Or for another example, the fact that if you pick a god who's associated with storms, why the fuck do you care about the undead?
Because fuck the undead.
I know the answer is early on they were supposed to be like vampire hunters, but still.
I say it depends on the setting, because some settings they have like the undead bring negative energy instead of like positive life energy into the world. So if you have too much undead in an area, you start having these stereotypical like, oh, everything's all dead and shit.
Which, to quote Hermes, that just raises further questions, or in this case, further problems, because of the whole, we're not a setting, except when we are, except when we're not.
But Mirdra, it's so much work to stay internally consistent.
Clearly. But that kind of thing drives me up a damn wall. as I think I've made very clear. The other aspect is that whole setting thing that we mentioned. Sword World doesn't have that problem. It is specifically set in Raxia, and each of these spell lists that we have in each of the casters have very specific reasons for why they work the way they do. Even in 1.0, we kind of had that, with rune magic being focused on the runes of the ancient magic civilization, and spirit magic being focused on spirits. So I don't have to ask why my magic works the way it does if I took levels in, say, Fairy Tamer, because the answer is already given to me. You are giving your mana to the fairy to perform a service for you, sort of like a Shugenja in Legend of the Five Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And incidentally, some types of fairies like certain types of gemstones that correspond to their element. And in the campaign we had, there was one shield that had affixed spots for gemstones, so you didn't have to carry it around. It was part of your shield. Which put the image in my head of a shield that looks like the famous shield in the Fire Emblem series.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, given some of the magic stuff we saw in Age of Grimoire, I'm hoping one of these days we get to see a similar book covering the Magitech civilization.
Would be nice.
Especially since we already have the magic guns. Now I want the equivalent of the gunsmith part of certain video games.
I'd be down there for a magical minigun.
I'd be down for a magical rocket launcher.
Really?
Like, I
Rocket
want
launcher?
a
They're
rocket-
not going for a. They're
Well,
not going for a boomstick thing.
There's already a shotgun spell.
Oh yeah. My bad.
It's like I want a magical rocket launcher that shoots rockets. That then, when those rockets explodes into smaller rockets that will fly out, and then when they explode, even smaller rockets will fall out.
Actually, technically speaking,
It's a
with
magical nerve.
It's
honestly, if you want a magical rocket launcher, all you need is effectively just a giant bullet with an explosion spell inscribed on it, and it explode on contact.
that's
Yeah.
just a bolter, though.
Yeah, we'll just sop them off with a nuke.
Yeah. Snatch pebble from hand.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. All systems ready. It is good day to die.
But
I wonder if a holy hand grenade sword would also be possible.
the other thing is I'm pretty sure somebody has thought when it comes to coming up with homebrew content, or what? You release the dogs or the bees or the dogs with bees in their mouth, and when they bark they shoot bees at you.
Have you been listening to Psycho Stick again?
No.
Maybe.
Or heat
Insert
seeking
their
killer bees?
Insert their shifty I meme here.
No. I'm just legally required to make a Simpsons joke at least once a week.
Fair.
But with that said, let me see what we've got in mind for next week. Putting aside the absolute gauntlet that we're going to be going through in a couple days.
Ooh, that's gonna be fun.
So let's.
Yeah, see if you could try to join in on the fun this year, because I don't want to do this alone with Mildred.
No
Not
worries.
enough.
I'll be there definitely. Tuesday's definitely going to be easy, and Wednesday, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so we already covered Terrastier last week. Next week we are covering Alflame. And I chose the perfect time to do this because this is one of those cases where something happened that is completely my fault.
Uh-oh.
So, some of you are aware I do have my back and forth conversations with some of the translation team, especially the head of that translation team, who's Aquid, who's sometimes shown up in the chat, and when we did the Terrastier continent, I ended up using a small book that he put together called The Explorer's Guide. I used that mostly out of convenience because I didn't want to jump through a dozen books at once, which I knew I was going to have to do otherwise. And shortly after we did that stream, the idea got put in his head to do a similar book for Alflame. And then before the day was even over, the book was done.
Holy crap!
Oh man!
And he tagged me specifically about it.
That is one heck of a case of serendipity if there ever was one.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes I actually do use my powers for good.
Sometimes.
Usually it's just to shitpost with the force of 1,000 rectums.
I mean, like if I had the option between the two ways to use that power, it's I'd choose the second one too.
Yeah.
I mean, a fair balance would be like, say, 95% of the latter, 5% of the former.
How about both?
Yes.
That works.
But that will do it for this particular episode. We will be back next week as mentioned, and I will be back tomorrow with the Grimoire part of Fateforge, which Fateforge is a very fascinating setting that I hope to hack into other systems in the future. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, may your adventures be grand and your treasures myriad. Stay frosty.
See you on the trail.